Alright, so we're almost done. All we have left is the back page of the stats practice test, and then we're done with this chapter. Then you can take that test, and then you will be almost done. Only one more chapter to go, which is awesome. So we're working on question 19. So on a normally distributed standardized test, and whenever you see the words normally distributed, you want to draw yourself a normal curve so that you can label things. Okay, so the mean is 76. So right smack dab in the middle, this score is a 76. Okay. Standard deviation is 4. Between which two scores will approximately 68% of the scores fall? Now, you might be asking yourself, if you didn't memorize that number, why on earth are they asking me about 68% of the scores? Hopefully by now, you have memorized the fact that 68% of all of the things that are normally distributed fall within one standard deviation of the mean. So all of those percentages right there, it's about 68.2 or 68%. So they're asking you between which two scores will approximately 68% of the scores fall. So what they're asking you to do is figure out what the score is for -1 and for +1, and then that's going to be your answer. So if your mean is 76 and your standard deviation is 4, I'm going to do 76 plus 4 gives me an 80. That's what my score is right here. A score of 80 is one standard deviation away from the mean. And then I'm going to go in the opposite direction. I'm going to go 76 minus 4, which is a 72. So on your answers, look for the choice that has between 72 and 80, and that is choice C. Okay? So that's what that was asking you for question number 19. Now number 20. On a standardized test with a normal distribution, as soon as you see normal distribution, you draw a normal curve. The mean was 64.3. The mean 64.3. Okay. And the standard deviation was 5.4. Okay. What is the best approximation of the percent of scores that fell between 61.6 and 75.1? Now, when we were doing the questions before where we had the list of all those scores and we had to figure out the percentage of the kids that fell within one standard deviation, that was when you were actually given scores, when you were actually given sets of information. If you're not given any sets of information and it's asking you the approximation of the percent of scores, then what you need to be thinking of is, well, where do I see percentages on this curve? The percentages are all right in here, underneath the normal curve. So what it's asking you is, calculate the percent, or add up all the percentages of the scores that fell between these scores of 61.6 and 75.1. So what we need to do is we need to use our mean, and we need to use our standard deviation and figure out, we're going to start labeling things on here and figure out where this 61.6 lies and where that 75.1 lies. So what I always like to do, I don't know, I always do the positive number first, just because that's one standard deviation above, that's 2, that's 3, and then we're going to go in the other direction to -1, -2, and -3. And we don't have to label what all of these scores are. We can stop as soon as we find 75.1 and 61.6. So in order to go in the positive direction from here to here, you need to add on the standard deviation. So 64.3 plus 5.4. That gives me a 69.7. Have I hit 75.1 yet? No. So let's try to do it again. Let's do 69.7. Oops. Let's do 69.7 plus, let's add on another standard deviation, plus another 5.4. And that, there you go. We hit 75.1. There you go. So this 75.1 lies right here at the positive 2 standard deviations away from the mean. Alright, so that wasn't that bad. We figured out where that was. It was 2 standard deviations away from the mean. Now, we got that one. Let's go in the opposite direction and figure out where the 61.6 is. So we're obviously going in the negative direction this time. So I'm going to take my mean, 64.3, and I'm going to subtract 5.4. Now this is a 58.9. So clearly, we subtracted off too much. We went past 61.6 and we went all the way to 58. So does that mean that it's not on the line? No, that means that instead of 1 standard deviation or minus 1 standard deviation, maybe it's only a half of a standard deviation away from the mean. So if you notice on your thing, you have them labeled out in increments of a half. I've been going in increments of 1 full every single time, but you do have them in 1/2. So you will still be able to add up all those percentages. So how do I know how to subtract half of a standard deviation? Well, what is half of that standard deviation? Half of 5.4 should give me about 2.7. 5.4 divided by 2 is 2.7. So half of that is 2.7. So if I don't want to go 1 full standard deviation back and I only want to go half back, I'm going to do 64.3, take my average or my mean, and subtract a 2.7 because that's half of a standard deviation. And that, there we go, perfect. Lands me at 61.6, which is exactly what I wanted. So that means that these scores fall between a negative 1/2 and a positive 2. Now, that's perfectly fine because we know what all those values are. Now, the question wants us to figure out what percent of the scores fell within this range. All you're going to do is take your normal curve on your reference table and add up all of the percentages that are within that range between negative 1/2 right here and positive 2. So I'm going to start here, and using my calculator, I'm going to add up all the stuff in between that range. So I'm going to add up a 19.1 plus a 19.1 plus another 15 plus a 9.2 plus 4.4. And that's it, because now I've hit that wall right there at the positive 2. So I'm going to hit enter. All that stuff, all the percentages in between negative 0.5 and positive 2, all of it added up to be 66.8%, because we were adding up percentages. Take a look at all your options, and 68 or 66.8 is choice B. Alright? Hopefully that wasn't too horrible for you. Let's move on to number 21. On a standardized test with a normal distribution, I see normal distribution, I draw a normal curve. I want to see tons of normal curves on your paper when I'm grading it. The mean is 88 this time. Okay. If the standard deviation is 4, the percentage of grades, so we're talking about percent, so you know we're going to have to add up some percentages underneath here. The percentage of grades that would be expected to lie between, this time we're looking for the range between 80 and 86, or I'm sorry, 96. 80 and 96. And then we're going to have to figure out where these scores lie on our normal curve, and then we're going to have to add up those percentages in between, okay? So we don't necessarily have to label all of these, but that's a -1, that's a -2, and this is a -3. This is +1, +2, and +3. Okay, so if this is my average and that's my standard deviation, let's go in the positive direction first. It really doesn't matter, but 88 plus 4 is a 92. And then if I add another 4, that's a 96, which is awesome. That's exactly what I wanted to find. 96 is right here. So this 96 lies at the positive 2 standard deviations away from the mean. Awesome. Now let's go back in the negative direction to figure out where 80 lies. So I'm going to do 88 minus 4 this time, because my 4 is standard deviation. So 88 minus 4 is an 84. Minus another 4, that's going to land me at a score of 80. And that's exactly what I wanted to find, which is perfect. So if I read the question again, we need to figure out the percentage of grades that would be expected to lie between 80 and 96. So all we need to do is take our reference sheet and add up all the scores that lie between -2 and +2. So I'm going to go back to my reference sheet, add up all the scores between -2 and +2. Excuse me. Alright, so I'm going to go through, start at -2 and add it all the way up. So 4.4 plus 9.2 plus 15 plus 19.1 plus another 19.1 plus 15 plus 9.2 plus 4.4, and that's where I'm going to stop, because I'm going to stop right there at that wall. Hit enter, and that all adds up to a total of 95.4%. So for number 21, we're going to choose choice D, which is 95%. Okay? And there's only 3 more questions left. Alrighty. The scores on a test approximate a normal distribution. This is question number 22. A normal distribution with a mean score of 72. Okay, and a standard deviation of 9. Approximately what percent of the students taking the test received a score greater than 90? So this time it's not just between 2 numbers. I want to add up all the percentages of 90 or above. So I'm going to do, I don't have to go in both directions this time. I just need to go in the positive direction. So 72 plus a 9 will land me at 81. That's 1 standard deviation above. And then if I add on another 9 on top of 81, that lands me at 90. So what I have to do for this question is think about what percentage of the students would get a 90 or above. So I'm just adding up all those percentages that are 90 or above in here. So I'm going to take a look at my reference sheet, look at this +2 or above. So that is 1.7 plus 0.5 plus another 0.1, and that adds up to be about 2.3%. And then the question says the best approximation, so that would be choice C, which is 2.5%, because that's the closest. Alrighty, only 2 questions left, and I'm going to start another video for you.